on economic valuations, particularly on Indonesian biodiversity, and so the subtitle is The Long Way Forward. So this is the outline. So it's a bit of overview of my perspective on what is the status of an economic assessment or valuation of biodiversity in Indonesia. So I will start with briefly with what is it, how is it measured, and then maybe because I know that this is not specialist, so I think it's a good chance for me to share from the angle of the economics, what is the economic value we are talking about here, what is the economic valuation, what is it for, and then maybe a little bit of seeing literatures, globally in Indonesia, what do we know so far, and then about the because there are two things. There is ecosystem service and biodiversity. I will explain to you this is not the same thing, and maybe my assessment of the status of Indonesia, and then how can we progress. So first of all, well, the definition of biodiversity itself sometimes confusing for some people, especially if it's multidisciplinary, because when we talk about the biodiversity, it is very specific. So we stress the importance of the diversity itself. So we are talking about the diversity, not the resources itself, but how diverse it is, how rich it is in terms of the variability of the system. Either it is the diversity within species, between species, or even ecosystem within ecosystem. So this is, we are talking about diversity if we want to be accurate. And I know this is very difficult concept sometimes, and sometimes it is quite abstract. And this is how normally how biodiversity measures in the literature. I'm not pretending I know this, because this is mostly specialized for some biologists. But what I know is this is measuring the diversity of each of the level of the diversity. And sometimes it's not easy when we want to convert this into a valuation story. So this will be the biggest challenge that I will mention a bit later. So, however, we all know that in terms of diversity itself, Indonesia is the richest country, not among the richest. I think the richest country in the world in terms of the biodiversity. This is at least what the CBD in 2001 at least says. Okay, now let's begin with what is exactly economic value. I'm going to stress about the difference between price versus values. So, as we all know, I think most of the economies in the world now, I think 99%, use market system in the way they organize the economy. So since the fall of the communism, at least 99% of market mechanism which rely on market prices is used in most of the country that we know, except a few, like North Korea, somewhere else. Okay. Yet, however, when we look at the that market has the pure market mechanism, has a very minimum role for government, and this system is used in 99% of the countries in the world. Yet there is this what is called Wagner's law. Wagner's law says when the country is getting richer, I mean the richer your country you are, the more you rely on government. So this is kind of anomaly. Why 99% of the world is relying on market price and market system? Why the more you rich, the more you educated, the more you know better, actually, you ask government to play more in your economy. So this must be something else then, And it's fact, it's true, because maybe I would like to, I hope that you can hear this.
Too much and for too long, we seem to have surrendered personal excellence and community value in the mere accumulation of material things. Our gross national product now is over $800 billion a year. But that gross national product, if we judge the United States of America by that gross national product counts air pollution and cigarette advertising and ambulances to clear our highways of carnage. It counts special locks for our doors and the jails for the people who break them. It counts the destruction of the redwoods and the loss of our natural wonder in chaotic sprawl. It counts napalm and it counts nuclear warheads and armored cars for the police to fight the riots in our cities. It counts Whitman's rifle and Speck's knife and the television programs which glorify violence in order to sell toys to our children. Yet the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of their education, or the joy of their play. It does not include the beauty of our poetry, or the strength of our marriages, the intelligence of our public debate, or the integrity of our public officials. It measures neither our wit nor our courage, neither our wisdom nor our learning, neither our compassion nor our devotion to our country. It measures everything in short, except that which makes life worthwhile. And it can tell us everything about America.
Okay, so, well, the price is different than value. So basically, price, what I mean by price is the market price. The value is something else, and it's not exactly the same thing. I normally, before I begin my class in environmental economics, normally I did a little survey to all the students and asked them, can you mention 5 things that you think the most valuable for you in your life? And I write them on the board, all of them, and it always turned out that most of the things that these students put value, high value on it, we cannot get it from the department store. So most of the things that people value actually is not marketable. It's non-market. We cannot buy it just nearby. It's something that market cannot provide. Okay. So for example here, what is the price, market price, of the service that forest provide to protect us from flash flood? Basically none, zero. Yeah. However, what is the value? Of course, many life loss avoided. That's the value. If you have flash flood, it is happened in Garut in 2016, for example, 34 died. The closest example of what you are here is what is the price of upstream ecosystem around Bogor area to regulate water in Jakarta? What is the price, the market price of this? Nothing, zero. But what is value? Trillion rupiahs of economic loss that could have been avoided. So price is different than value, but market price itself alone cannot detect this price. So how can we rely on economic system that disregard most things that we value? So this must be something wrong. So maybe that's the reason why there's Wagner's law. Why the richer country you are, the more educated you are, the more you know better, then you ask government to place more role in the economy. And that's the same thing for environment. So basically, economic valuation is the use of economic analysis to disclose the invisible, the things of which its value is invisible to us, the thing that doesn't have market price. For what? To help us understand trade-off better. Yeah, because trade-off is everywhere, resource is constrained. So sometimes there is a misunderstanding. So economic valuation is not just simply to put dollar value to anything that we respect, to life, to whatever, right? No, it's not that. And also many misunderstanding. It's not also to neo-liberalize ecosystem. No, this is just to help understand trade-off better, because most of the thing that we value like that doesn't have market price. Okay, otherwise then it's very difficult. And how do we do exactly economic valuation in practice? Well, it's not that complicated actually in principle, because we just simply try to find out either from primary survey or from secondary data to find out if there is some kind of indicator of happiness of people, and that happiness is a function of income that they earn, this is in dollar, and some kind of other non-marketed commodities like environment at certain level, let's say N0. And if we want to improve that N, that nature, for example, from N0 to N1, then you have to take away some money that you have. Okay, you got the new N1, but you take away some money that you have, and your happiness has to be the same between these two conditions. Then this WTP is actually the value, the economic value that we put on this improvement from state of the environment N0 to N1, as simple as that. So all this economic valuation technique is basically to find this WTP. So, however, That is, it's not that simple actually, because there are so many details, yeah, in terms of the ethics, in terms of the ideology, in terms of the school of thought, yeah, in terms how this should be measured. So basically, economic aspect is more relying on the preference-based approach. So this is basically the preference-based approach. So we use this preference-based approach. So in that case, then we think that the economic value, but we try to be broadly defined the economic value. So we have use value, we have non-use value, and then we use value, we have direct use value too, and then indirect use value, we have option value, direct use value, yeah? And then also existent or altruism value. And then this is how we, this is the various economic valuation method that we normally have. This is the reserves of the tools that economics use to do this valuation. I'm not going to go into the detail because of the limited time, but this is actually what we have. So we are here in the economics. Okay. So what about biodiversity? Well, this economic valuation, needless to say, is a human-centric concept. So it's an anthropogenic concept. It means that to be properly valued, biodiversity first need to be translated into services of ecosystem, services of the ecosystem that has value to us. Okay, not marketed to us, but that has value to us. For example, so you have to connect it to the socioeconomic system in the red zone here. So you have human well-being, you have to have the benefit, yeah. And this is the biodiversity. So biodiversity does not stand alone and itself give value to human. It has to go through this ecological process. First, for example, in terms of nutrient recycling, and then produce biodiversity, the enhancement of the efficiency of the ecological process. Then that will be goes to socioeconomic system. Or for example, increase the diversity in the pollinator species. So increase the pollination service of the environment, that goes to the values. This is what we values. And also diversity to create more habitat for insect. And then this is species richness. Now this is more direct. For example, species richness, people like bird, game watching, or identifying different species of butterflies. Yeah. So this is goes to this ecosystem service. So this is the value that matters to human when they have of use. Okay. So you have to translate that first into these services, not only biodiversity itself. Okay. However, we have to economists not also acknowledge that part of the use that we define, there's something called non-use values. So this is a very, so don't worry. So don't worry that when we talk about biodiversity, it means something that is useful for us, but that use is very broadly defined. So we have direct use. For example, biodiversity can improve recreational experience. Okay, so that's direct use, but also indirect use. This is already non-marketed. This is already non-marketed. We don't have market price for this one. This one maybe have market price, but starting from this bold box one, normally we don't have market price. So what market price value? Normally only this one. Starting from this to this to this, no one. So biodiversity ensure market more resilient in ecosystem, for example, to provide benefit to ecosystem service, forest function, flood protection, landslide protection. So it's not non-market. Option, species or gene that are poorly understood today, yeah, may provide valuable information in the future. So this is also biodiversity function. Existence, some people think something that exists are valuable to them. Yeah, even though never see the thing, yeah? But just to give them comfort that knowing that they exist. Okay, so they have value to it. They're willing to pay something like that. Altruism, yeah, knowing that knowing that I don't know, I never seen the thing, but I know that I can, you know, I can give it to my children. Okay, so that also has value. People are willing to pay. Yeah, so this is very broadly defined. Yeah. Well, in a way, this economic valuation is not just simply putting numbers and disclose the numbers and then announce the number to media, to public, or to economic journal. No, it is a tool, and that tool has to be useful. If there's no use of it, we don't really need to discuss. So this valuation is a tool that more often useful, yeah, because basically in principle it discloses the invisibility of the nature's values, which is important in the resource concerns world, yeah. So this EV basically inform regulation, help inform. Sometimes it help enforce justice. For example, this is the example. So that inform justice. So when the Gulf of Mexico oil spill in 2010, and then the trustee of the Gulf Natural Resource in US and the NOAA in US actually assigned some team to do economic valuation so they can use it as a evidence at court. So in economic valuation help justice, enforce justice. I mean, so and then help cost benefit analysis. So basically make the world a better place. I think so. So this is something important and useful. And this is an example of the most widely cited the ecosystem service value of the world by my colleague here from the NU, Bob Costanza in 2014, he updated the value. So you can see here, but maybe I just show you the Indonesian part because I invited him to come to Jakarta and then to make the calculation of this table to Indonesia, and then he kindly enough to do this for Indonesia, and then he saw that, for example, in the baseline in 2011, all of this natural environment give ecosystem services. This is services, not necessarily biodiversity. Biodiversity may be there implicitly, yet it's actually the service is 3 times the GDP of that particular year. So when you have GDP around 540, this is billion dollar in 2011, the ecosystem service is basically 1,600 billion dollar. So 3 times of the GDP. So basically all this ecosystem service is way more than what is measured by the market. Okay? So just a proof. How about the valuation of biodiversity? So, well, this is from what I learned in the literature. So economic, if we want to be very limited or specific in terms of the valuation of the diversity itself, then this is the status in the literatures. Actually, not that many, but they are, right? They are. So from various region, from various type of habitat, from various type of techniques, and also the various level of the biodiversity. So they exist, but not, of course, not as many as the valuation that actually measure the ecosystem services, in terms of the services, not the diversity. This is particular on the diversity. So they exist, and I just give you a little bit of head ups atau example of what do economists do actually when try to evaluate. So basically, this is one of the primary survey. For example, so people are asked if we have a project of reintroducing the beaver in Africa. This is Africa, and then cost considerable amount of money. Will they pay if the tax increase by this much per year, for example? And then from this information of thousands of respondents, then we can calculate with a statistical system what is the value of this introducing the beaver, for example. This is one of the example. Another one, and this is called contingent valuation, but there are other one, for example, using the technical choice modeling. In the choice modeling, people are given options, option of several level of diversity, for example. This is, do you pick policy level 1, policy level 2, or do nothing? And then you have also the price that you have to pay with that options, and then you have to trade off between this species familiarity of wildlife, okay, rare or not rare, so basically diversity. So, and then what the respondent pick will be different, according to characteristic of that respondent. And from that information, from that thousand of information, then we can do statistical analysis to calculate how much actually people are willing to pay for protecting for this diversity. So this is just an example. Okay, my last 2 slides. How about Indonesia? So basically, in Indonesia, as far as my experience in reading the literatures, and then also I have quite years of being active in the environmental economics research, at least supervisions, yeah, with organization in they are quite big organization. Yeah? So actually, there are quite many studies on economic valuation of ecosystem services on Indonesia, not in Indonesia, on Indonesia. However, my note is that not many good ones, actually good one mean published in good journal, yeah, done by international academics. So we need more good primary studies done by national academics. So I think this is important because we need that capacity building if we want to translate better these valuations into policy. Yeah. So capacity building, especially quality-wise, yeah. There are many environmental economic valuation on Indonesia by Indonesian, but the good one is not many. So need capacity building. If we are more specific in terms of diversity, then we have a bit of problem because difficult to find specific valuation on Indonesian biodiversity, like very sharp, narrowly defined diversity. So I think I only found one study cited in the literature by Barkowski, yeah, in 2015. And then in Indonesia, I found from my experience in engage with government or policymaker, cost benefit analysis is actually, not to mention economic valuation, it's not really a normal thing to do in Indonesian policy or business decisions. So if you don't really do much cost benefit analysis, then economic valuation have not that much role. Yeah. And well, I have to admit there are some progress in legislations. Yeah, I think economic valuation, especially green economy and similar kind of things like that, have already been explicit in certain legislation. And also there are efforts because I'm actually quite involved with corruption commissions, yeah, to try to insert this economic valuation into damage assessment of corruption so people can be charged if they do corruption and then damage the environment. It's a quite active about this, and then also in the Ministry of Justice also they have been quite active about this damage assessment. So I think Indonesia damage assessment analysis by the court or by legal system has already started to adopt certain economic valuation. However, it's not really in the direct policy regulation or business decisions. Yeah, maybe Pak Rudy maybe can explain a bit later. And then recently there are omnibus law that I think is a setback for this environment. Not only from the valuation, but the environmental aspect also is a bit of setback. So how should we go from here? Well, I think what still we need to do is we should train more and better academics on economic valuation, and then try to publish them in good academic journals. So that's a part of the capacity building because of the peer review process will make you better in terms of how you do this. Yeah? But however, we have to link this research into most urgent policy agenda. So we always put our economic valuation work as close as possible to the policy arena. Yeah. For example, pick something urgent. Or pick something people are debating or discussing. For example, what about economic valuation related to moving capital city? Has anyone done thing or something like this? Done something like this? I'm not so sure. I don't think so. So do economic valuation related to the moving capital city? That's a big issue. Yeah, there's something. So try to find something like that, some relevance like that. And then also because as you can see from my explanation before, the use value has so many elements, and then each element of the use maybe need one specific studies. Yeah? You cannot do economic valuation, primary economic valuation, I mean, yeah, to find the economic value of one thing, all the use with one research paper. No way. I saw that common in Indonesia. We want to estimate the value of certain resources, the total economic value of certain resources with one paper. Okay, that's something we have to avoid because then you lost the accuracy. If you lost the accuracy, then you lost the relevance. Yeah. So that's why we need to be selective in what value of the biodiversity to be researched. Things of urgency. Okay, I think Indonesia has many issues that is specific to our context. Yeah. For example, instead of estimating something abstract like existence value, why don't we identify the direct use first in terms of the commercialization potentials? Yeah, I'm sure it's not been, like investigate thoroughly. Yeah, or something that has high social value, for example, something related to medicine. Yeah, something related to tourism, or even something tourism to mining, because that's the sector of the economy. I just want to share my colleague Ayen Choa from University of Tadulako is my colleague at ALMI. That was featured recently in the BBC about her research on the rare plants that actually can produce nickel. This is very like rare, and then we are actually rich in this type of plant. So maybe something like this as an example. We do research on this, yeah, research on the diversity on the plants itself, and also on the economic valuation of this very exciting new things, yeah. So I think that's how I want to share about the the economic valuation of biodiversity. I hope can can induce and encourage some more discussion later. Thank you. I would like to stop here.